Last year I made a video detailing the horrors of urethral swab and how painful they are. Today I upped the ante with a cystoscopy. Now if the urethral swab was a fingering of the urethra, the cystoscopy was a fisting, nay, an entire arm. The arm of a 7'5" basketball player with a 10-foot wingspan going down my urethra. Now, why I got the cystoscopy is because I've been having recurrent penile problems and they thought it was necessary. I also thought it was necessary. Luckily, everything turned out normal. And I just would like to talk about the experience here, the Urethral Swab 2.0. Since I talked about urethral swabs, I thought it was only fair that I go the whole 9 yards here and talk about the next iteration of the urethral swab, the next evolution. If the urethral swab was Windows XP, this is Windows 10. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So over the last year, I've kind of become a urethral virtuoso. I know pretty much everything about urethras, what can go in, what can't. I'm kind of a urethral sommelier, if you will, in terms of adventures in the urethra. Now this one was by far my most incredible escapade in the urethral realm so far. Now, before I begin, I know some people actually put things in their urethra for pleasure. It's called sounding. I've looked into it and I can't believe my eyes. I don't know how these creatures can exist. But that's neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and start. So, I started by lying down. They pulled out my wiener and they injected a numbing agent into it. And I felt every fucking second of it. It fucking hurt. It felt like my virginity was being injected back into me. It was like a Kamehameha wave of broken glass going through my urethra. And my poor penis ate all of it. Just drank the whole fucking thing bottoms up. The next step was the doctor came in and showed me the flexible scope. And it was intimidating to say the least. It looks like something you'd be strangled with in a Hitman game. And that was going down my urethra. It was massive. It was absolutely fucking massive. They had a nice big flat screen monitor set up, some nice home theater viewing so that way you can get your urethral and bladder spectating pleasure in, and I was welcome to watch on the screen, which of course I did. I wasn't going to miss this opportunity to see what's going on under the hood down there. So he starts inserting the scope in there, and my cock's gobbling it up like Pac-Man chasing a high score, and I'm watching firsthand because I had front row seats and I was going to pass up on these tickets here. After it gets inserted, I turn my attention to the Jumbotron there to check it out on the screen. And man, that was surreal. That was just downright perturbing, really. It looked like the Death Stranding trailer. I half expected to see a baby in there sucking its thumb. Instead of going into the mouth of Norman Reedus, it went into the mouth of my Norman Petus. It was quite the thrill ride, but it was, a little gross too, seeing all that in there. But it was interesting, very interesting. I could feel every movement in there. When he finally got into the bladder, I could feel him moving the camera around, and it really felt like he was playing the crane game inside of me. It was like quite the wild ride. He'd be turning around, and I was like, oh, fuck, now he's playing Gran Turismo in there. And as surprising as this may be to some of you, it did not feel good at all. And the lube they were using was running down onto my nutsack, and I thought I was peeing all over everyone, and I thought I was some type of fucking middle school science project with the volcano and the vinegar, and it was just leaking all over the place. Thought I was peeing everywhere. So then I was embarrassed, but I was still watching the screen because I wasn't that embarrassed. I wanted to see everything going on in there. And then in one swift motion, he pulls it all out like he had just hooked a fish on the line, and then that was the end of that. Hurt real good. But I will say the urethral swab, 10 times worse. A lot worse. The urethral swab is still the king of pain in terms of urethra stuff, but I thought it was at least worth detailing the next step of a urethral swab. Now, there is a rigid scope for Cisco's. That's a whole new ball game. That's playing Cisco's on hard mode right there. That is, from what I understand, like trying to insert a large oak tree through a crazy straw. There's a lot worse things that can happen with the rigid scope, and it's apparently a lot worse, and it makes a lot more sense that it would hurt worse because, it's a fucking, it's a hunk of steel basically going into your urethra. At least the flexible scope was flexible. But yeah, so between the urethral swab and the urethral swab 2.0, the OG urethral swab was far more painful, but it was worth at least detailing this experience just for the sake of, keeping the urethral adventures, getting them out there, telling the urethral tales that you can tell your children before bedtime, so that way they too fear the urethral swabbing boogeyman and such, as well they should. So yeah, this was my latest escapade in the urethral adventures, and yeah, I should also mention post-op Cisco how it feels. It feels like I'm just constantly leaking lava. It burns and my undergarments are wet, so I'm definitely leaking, that's for sure. and it doesn't feel good. It feels like I've got some hot charcoal bricks down there. It's like I'm smuggling drugs for the drug cartel, except the drugs are nothing but hot fucking mulch in there. So that's how it feels now. Hopefully it'll go away soon. And yeah, that's it. So yeah. Hi everyone. A question I get asked a lot is if I script any of my shit. And I don't write scripts for anything. It takes away some of the fun, in my opinion. It doesn't feel as natural when shit's scripted out, so I don't really partake in it. However, occasionally when I think of a story I want to tell, and I tell some Shakespearean tales, so there's, first act, second act, climax, and ejaculation point. So there's a lot of I want to express in a story. So sometimes I'll write down little cliff notes or spark notes on my phone, just as a little reminder to jog my memory of what things I wanted to talk about with the story. And Tiana stumbled across one of my notes. The thing is, she read some of the notes, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to look at a little behind the scenes. So here's the notes I wrote for the story I told a couple days back about how I almost turned Christmas into Shitsmas. Go ahead, Tiana, take it away. Read the notes. Show them a little bit of the creative magic.
Well, he wrote in quotation marks a line for me to say, tell me about your big shit that almost ruined Christmas.
That's a line that starts every good Christmas tale. Took a page out of Robert Frost's playbook on that one.
And then it goes, a Christmas tale Dr. Seuss wouldn't tell you. Not religious wubba-lubba-dub-dub to enlightenment.
That's a very important point I needed to make.
That he shit out all of his Christmas spirit. Didn't mean to disrespect House of Lord, but for just a moment I let the devil into my colon. Santa exercised my asshole. I was Santa, and my only present was shit. The toilet will remember that one. Jesus, babe.
I don't think you understood that line. See, the toilet will remember that one is a Telltale Games reference. Oftentimes in those awful games, it would say, X will remember that. So I kind of
Oh, like when we played, Walking Dead.
Yeah. So instead of like a character remembering some trivial decision you made, it was the toilet remembering me putting fat shits in it.
Grinch shit on Christmas. Grease and whatever found in dumpster slapped between bread, but I was so hungry I'd have eaten an asshole off of a farmer. Her dad pumping ass to church, drifting around corners. Wasn't a church, it was a battlefield.
That one is actually a play off of Alan Wake's ending. You see, when Alan Wake, it's a video game, and when it concluded, he said, it's not a lake, it's an ocean. So it only makes sense. You're not an enlightened being.
Oh, sorry, I have to play the game first.
Yeah. It's a fat, beautiful reference, though.
No poop, Christmas miracle. I'm assuming that was the grand finale, the end.
Yeah.
The be-all, the end-all be-all.
That one's closing the chapter on that story. So there's a little behind-the-scenes look of how that story came to light. I don't do that for every story, but if there's a story I think of and I don't plan on telling it for a little while, I'll write down little notes to remind me of some of the things I wanted to talk about. Last week I took you on a journey through the artistic genius of Charles White, the modern-day Da Vinci. I showed you some of my greatest pieces from my time as an art major in college. Of course, my crowning jewel, my magnum opus, being this portrait of my father that I created. When I first saw this, when I rediscovered this artifact here, this treasure, I actually didn't know it was my dad at first. I thought it was one of the models from the class I drew it in, which was figure drawing, where you had people come in, and I thought the model just happened to look like Jared Fogle from the Subway commercials. But the reason I knew this was my dad is because I recognized the chair he's sitting in, and I was like, wait, that's my fucking dad I drew, huh? And then, of course, all the similarities just started hitting me. It's a very abstract interpretation of my father, but to the keen eye, the trained eye, you'll immediately recognize it, I would say. Now, is this the single worst piece of art in history? Absolutely not. Is it the best piece of art in history? Yes. Yes, it is. I really love everything I was able to capture here. If I was to go back and redo this, the one thing I'd do is I'd get rid of the camel toe. My dad, he doesn't have like a visible camel toe or anything like that, but I hit him with some moose knuckles here, and he didn't deserve that. I didn't do it on purpose. It's just there were some folds in the pants I was noticing, I think, and I just accidentally reverted to like hentai techniques. So a bit of a miscalculation there. I also might want to have put some legs on the chair, because right now it looks like it's a floating chair, like he's fucking MODOK. But everything else is right on the money, I would say. I really like what I was able to do with his torso here. It kind of makes him look like a thwomp from Super Mario 64, just like a giant fucking block. He's not like this wide or anything, but I was playing with dimensions, of course. As an artist of my caliber, it's nice to distort reality a bit and play around with proportions, which is, of course, I was experimenting here with great success. I need to definitely get that framed and maybe find some candles to put around it to make it look like some kind of satanic ritual where like that's the deity we're worshiping or something. But it definitely needs to be like in an art museum or something, I would say. But anyway, this isn't about the actual art pieces. I wanted to tell another story from my days as an art major, because I hinted at a few tales from back then in the last video, and I figured I'd share one right away. This is one that I've only touched on briefly, like in the podcast and in the past, and I never bothered to finish the story because it's extremely embarrassing and I actually feel pretty shameful for it, but I figured it's 2021, baby. Shame's a thing of the past. So let's fucking get in here, raw and no rubber, and I'll just tell you it like it is. So I took a figure drawing course, which is where I drew that piece as well as many others, where it's basically drawing people and things that you see in person. And one component of this course was drawing nude models, the idea being that you capture the human anatomy like it is, and you just go in there and put that pencil to the paper and you let it all hang out there. No secrets among the art students, prolapse, rectum, and all from the model. It's going on the canvas. And it's that shit that you used to see in the old movies where, you know, the protagonist would go into an art class and everyone's drawing a naked guy whose dick is flopping around. It was that, but I took the course in real life. I didn't know it at the time, so when I went in and saw a naked man posing in front of everyone, I was pretty shocked and caught off guard. I thought I had walked into like a Reality Kings porn shoot or something, but it turns out that was just a component of the semester, and it was pretty fucking weird and uncomfortable. It was a 3-hour session twice a week for this course, and the nude model we had was this guy who would strike a pose that we'd do our best to capture, and he would just listen to music after striking the pose, so he wasn't even putting his heart and soul into it. He'd just throw on the boner jams and transcend to the avatar state and leave this corporeal dimension, leaving us struggling art students behind in the fucking fallout barren wasteland of art, doing our best to capture his weird superhero pose. The position he chose was like the combination of Crimson Chin meets Goatsy. It was something kind of like this. So he came and he had hands on his hip, leaning forward like this, but he had a little stool in front of him so he could put his leg up, and he leaned forward a little bit, just so that way you could see a little bit of his butthole if you were unfortunately positioned behind him, which of course I was not directly behind him, so I didn't have like the full butthole spread action, but I had like tip of, like outer rim of anus plus some wrinkles, because I was still on like the back side, I didn't have front, so I saw, like, from my position, since his leg was up, I had a little bit of like cock head dangling in front, like kind of like a sunset behind his ass cheeks, and then like asshole rim plus wrinkles. It was like a Banksy painting, like if he drew the beach and then like put some ass cheeks in front of it with the dick behind it, you know what I mean? It was a very uncomfortable situation to be in, and especially just to sit there and with like my little pencil measuring his asshole circumference, trying to make sure all my dimensions are right, because the professor was grading on like dimensional accuracy for like the figure drawing portions. Obviously these pieces here, she just wanted to gauge where we were at for the most part, but when it came to actually drawing what she had in front of us, she would pretty much evaluate us based on how close we were to capturing the dimensions. So everyone was like really going deep into capturing each segment. The technique she taught us was to look at everything like letters in the alphabet, like for example, a asshole would be kind of like a C from my position, because I wouldn't have the full circle, so it wouldn't be an O, it'd be just a C. So then I'd have to measure out the C on the paper, and not to get into like the rubric and the grading criteria, but just to explain that I had to sit there for 3 hours thoroughly analyzing the wrinkles and dimensions of a man's asshole, ass cheeks, and like cockhead, and it was just really uncomfortable for the most part. So after, I only did this for one course. After this, I went home, because I went to college not too far away from where my parents lived. I went home and I was like, look, You guys need to come up with an excuse because I cannot sit in this course for the next 3 weeks drawing dick and asshole for a collective 6 hours a week. I just can't do it. So we eventually came up with the idea that we would use religion as my excuse. So I didn't want to like just not go to the course because I didn't want to fail the course because it was like a 3-week course. And by missing all of that, I would absolutely fail. So it would have been just a huge waste of money. So we used religion as like the scapegoat. So I had my parents send her an email, like acting all outraged, like, how could you have our son Charles drawing butthole in your course? This directly goes against our beliefs in the Lord and his teachings in the Ten Commandments in the Bible. This is absolutely unacceptable. Charles will not be attending the course, and we expect he will still get full credit because we wouldn't have allowed him to take the course if it was disclosed beforehand that nude model drawing was a requirement. It sounded like something a fucking Scientologist would have written, except far more polite. They weren't like mean about it or anything. It was just using religion and the inability to see butthole and cock as an excuse to not go to the course for 3 weeks. And they sent it. And then she sent me an email and then talked to me saying, look, she understands. She apologized to me, but she didn't need to do. And she still gave me credit and told me just to sit out the 3 weeks and come back towards the end. So, yeah, I got out of drawing that by using religion, the ultimate excuse. It was a genius plan, to be honest, and I feel really bad about it. And the reason I've never told this is because I really am super embarrassed. I should have just toughed it out and drawn more dick and asshole, but 6 hours a week thoroughly measuring a guy's dick and balls and stuff, it just wasn't exactly what I had signed up for as an art student. It never even crossed my mind that would be one of the art curriculum, like part of the art curriculum. So I just kind of panicked. I was like, look, I just don't want to keep doing this. I really don't. I'm not trying to get into like furry porn art or anything. I just wanted to make some cartoons, not these kind of cartoons. I just wanted to get out. I felt trapped, and of course the only out was playing the religion card, and luckily my parents were on board to send that email, and I still got credit. I still passed the course, and yeah, that was that. So I still feel bad about it, like lying to her, because she was a super sweet professor and just a really nice person all around, but I just really didn't want to keep going to that course and doing that for 3 weeks. But if I do now have the tools to draw asshole if I'm ever in a situation that calls for it. Like, let's say I'm in a situation where a bomb is going to detonate and the only way to defuse it is by drawing the villain's butthole. I would be able to capture his brown balloon knot down to the millimeter and save the day. So it wasn't a huge waste of time or anything, but you know, I never finished the course, so maybe I wouldn't even be able to fully figure out how to capture a butthole, but I feel like one course was probably plenty. But anyway, that's about it. See ya. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's that special time of year again where we peel back the curtain, I take off the condom, and I answer your most asked questions of the year through Twitch chat, through email, and YouTube comments. I just kind of make a mental list of the most asked questions. So let's start with the first one. Do you still play recorder? You tell me. How tall am I? I'm 5'6", the optimal male height. It's what God envisioned for our species. Anything above 5'6", it just seems silly to me. Why would you want to be taller than the golden height? It's the height. I fucking hate being short. Here's one that I absolutely hate, but I have to acknowledge because it truly is probably one of the top 3 most asked questions of the year. What is your favorite meme? Fucking hate meme and meme culture. I think it's all just super god-awful and lazy. I just don't even understand the point of memes anymore. They're not even entertaining. They don't even get like an exhale from the nostril anymore. They just seem fucking silly. Odd flex, but okay. And god fucking e-meme. I hate that shit. But I have to acknowledge it because I answer the most asked questions every year. So what is your favorite meme? The only meme that I appreciate in any capacity is the oppressed gamer meme. I've answered this multiple times and even made a video answering it again, and yet I'm still getting emails about it, so I'm going to answer it yet again. Where do you stream now, since you haven't streamed on YouTube in a while? I stream on Twitch now. But wait, I thought you fucking hated Twitch. Yeah, I had a lot of problems with Twitch, the majority of which they've been actively improving on. Meanwhile, YouTube is devolving and fucking its own ass in all possible aspects. So I do all my streaming on Twitch now. See, even Tetra's tired of this fucking question. Listen to that. So yes, I stream on Twitch now. No, I don't hate it anymore. It's a lot better than YouTube streaming. Again, I will post a link to my Twitch in the description of this video. Next big question I always get asked, and this one I get asked all the fucking time, and again, this is one that I've answered before. What is your favorite type of porn? Lesbian porn. I'm a man of exquisite taste. What can I say? Lesbian porn offers by far some of the best in the business. It's hard to dispute that fact. Yeah, you can have like your weird kinky fetishes where there's something with like rubber squeaky toys being shoved in the buttholes and whatever, but on the whole, and I'm not talking on the asshole, on like the general statement, lesbian porn in my opinion is the best that gets made. Next big question, is there going to be more wetware, new wetware selections? Yes, there is. And there is right now actually. There's hoodies and shit. There's a lot of new wetware available, so if you do want to get wetware, I'll put a link to that in the description as well if you want to check that out. Do you edit your own videos? For the most part, I edit all of my own shit, which is why it all looks like 2008 era shit, because I'm a really bad editor. I don't have a special effects degree. I'm not in contact with Marvel Studios effects team or anything, so it's pretty bare bones, just syncing, trimming, and then putting it together. It's about it. However, the podcast gets edited by Jackson, and the Moist Meter also gets edited by Jackson, which is why the two of those have a bit more production value and don't look like some middle schooler's portfolio or first time with Windows Movie Maker. I forgot to mention this one when talking about Twitch. This is one that I'm asked probably more than anything else. This, I would say, is the most frequent question of the year for me. Will you be playing and or streaming huge name game coming out soon? Yes, I will most likely be playing and or streaming the huge game that you have just asked me about. I've got G Fuel in the veins. What can I say? I'm a hardcore, elite, top-tier gamer, barbarian, assassin, guru. I play the majority of new games that come out. I always have. I stream a lot of them too. Maybe not all of them, but I do, for the most part, play the majority of the new games. So yes, I will probably be checking that out. What advice would I give to a college kid? I don't know why I'm always turned to for advice when dealing with college matters and the social aspect of college, especially after I already made the video talking about how I spent an entire year of my college life, my freshman year, pretending to be an anime mysterious guy who was one step shy of having his nipples pierced and wearing assless chaps to appear different and unique. I don't know why people would turn to me for the social aspect of advice in college, but regardless, the advice I would always give someone is don't be weird. Don't be weird. Now, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not telling you not to be yourself or to just be like some carbon copy clone of every other fucking douchebag in college. I'm saying don't come on too strong and fire on all fucking cylinders. Go in there full mast, full erection, blood pouring to your throbbing member, gloating about your favorite hentai to someone you're just meeting for the first time. Ease your way into someone's life, find commonalities, common ground, small talk, and then, go from there. I guess it's less of don't be weird and more of don't be so overbearing. Well, I guess just don't be weird. I still think that's the best fucking advice. Don't be weird when you're first starting to meet people or trying to carve out your own identity in a new space. This is one I don't really understand, but I'm always asked. Are you ever going to do more of the real series, real videos? And I don't get that because it's not like I ever stopped. I just don't call them the real and then product name. They're just infomercial dubs. The only reason I ever called it the real series is because I was too fucking lazy to individually name those videos. But now I name them. Nothing has changed. I still make those. I just don't call them the real because it's a stupid fucking name, really. Why are you afraid of flying? As most of you know, I'm afraid of flying. Why am I afraid of flying? Well, it's fucking scary to me. The thought that if something does go wrong and it can't really be fixed in the air by the pilots or anything, I'm super fucked. There's not a whole lot I can do in that scenario to help myself. My seat can be used as a flotation device? Oh, fantastic. That's splendid. I'll make sure to cry into that as the plane fucking explodes. Oh, an oxygen mask, huh? Oh, great. I can stay conscious a little while longer as the plane fucking nosedives so that I can continue to see it coming. Fantastic. There's just not it's the lack of control should something go wrong and the lack of anything else to prevent it. Like I'm helpless in that scenario. I can't like hop onto the wing of the plane and then like take like a fucking master key to it and start turning gears or a wrench to it and start fixing shit. I'm fucked. It's over at that point, and I hate that thought. Just having it be entirely in someone else's hands and should it go wrong, being completely powerless to try and fix it. And it also being 100% fatal should it go wrong. It's fucking scary. Flying is scary. You're insane if you fly. You're a fucking mad lad if you fly. I respect you. I respect that a lot. I can't do it. It's fucking scary. I've done it like 10 or so times, and it's fucking terrifying every time. Another big question that I get asked every year: why is my YouTube channel Penguinz, would I call myself critical or Charlie? The channel's 12 years old-ish. I made it when I was very young. I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it, so I just called it Penguinz because I like penguins. I still like penguins. And then it was critical because that was my Xbox Live gamer tag. I changed my Xbox Live gamer tag to that, and I like the sound of it, so I went by that as well. And then Charlie's my actual name. So I got a lot of fucking aliases out here. I'll answer one more big one. Why did you give blank this score on the moist meter? It's truly the best thing humanity's ever made. How could you possibly think it was anything under 100%? The moist meter fucking sucks. You fucking suck. Fuck you. Well, I gave it that score because I thought that's the score it deserved. That's typically the story behind it. There's no, like, hidden meaning behind it. I just kind of try to grade it objectively speaking. Or I guess you can never really be fully objective with things. You're always going to have your own personal biases in there, I suppose. But I do my best to keep it objective. And I thought that's the score it deserved. I'm sorry to have spit on your beloved property, but one thing I've learned, when you start reviewing something, you open yourself up to such hostility from the fanboys of that area. For example, the best one I can pull from immediately is Rockstar. People blindly follow Rockstar games and will always support them no matter what type of anti-consumer business practices they employ, and even if the games really aren't as good as they made out to be. Red Dead Redemption, I gave an 80% to because I feel like that's what the game 100% deserves with its shortcomings and its incredible innovation in the field. I think it's a very good game, a game that I would highly recommend to the majority of people. But because I don't grade things the way the other journalists do, where everything gets a 90 or 100 these days to appease the super angry and super fickle gamer culture, people target me like, oh, this fucking guy just wants to be a contrarian. Oh, he has such shit taste. He's obviously just doing this for views, even though like the score is not publicized in the title, so no one would really know unless they had already clicked on it to see the score. But regardless, it's a shit argument. The point I'm making is, in today's day and age, you're not allowed to criticize something, and it's just sad because even if you have valid criticisms, it doesn't matter because people that are a fan of who the studio or the property itself take it as a personal insult and will never see those complaints as anything other than just edgy or contrarian for the sake of being contrarian, which is sad. And journalists really they enable this type of behavior by just giving these scores away. You'll be hard-pressed to find scores in 2018 for games that are below an 80. Nearly everything is an 80 to 100 in 2018. And I'll tell you right now, every game that's come out this year is not in that ballpark, not even close. So, I guess to answer the question, why did you give it this score? It fucking deserved it, in my opinion, for sure. Well, that was this year's yearly answering questions video. I hope I answered the question that you've probably asked at some point. I hope I covered most of them. That's it. See ya. I've been on the internet for a long time. I've been cruising the wacky World Wide Web and surfing the cyberspace since the early 90s. Even when Charlie was just a baby boy suckling on mama's titties, I was peeking over her shoulder to get a look at the computer monitor in the background. I've seen many different phases of the internet. I'm sure a lot of you remember dial-up, that abominable piece of shit. It made this unholy screeching sound that sounded like somebody was strangling Pac-Man in the back of a moving dump truck, and it was slower than fuck. If you wanted to load a 2-pixel image, it'd take all day. And God forbid someone tries to use the bathroom in your household. Like if your dad goes into the bathroom somewhere in the house to take a piss, your internet's crashing for the entirety of that bathroom visit with dial-up. It was terrible. But I look back fondly on that era and the memories associated with it. There was a sense of mysticism when it came to the internet and this mysterious cyber world. Especially with friend groups. You know, you'd be talking to your friends about Halo 2 and one of them would bring up, hey, I read online that if you shoot this specific sign with enough rockets from the rocket launcher, it spawns a golden warthog. Oh, you read that on the internet? Well, it probably isn't wrong then. I mean, shit, I was 8 years old and getting scammed. I was being used like a fleshlight by scam services. There used to be a bunch of banners where it's like, click here to win a dirt bike. I'd be like, what the fuck? All I have to do is click here and win a dirt bike? I'm in. So then I'd click it, and I'd start filling out surveys and like putting all kinds of sensitive information into it. And next thing you know, my parents' fax machine has been hacked and I don't have a dirt bike. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, because sometimes when it's late at night, I just get these nostalgia boners thinking back on the internet content I used to consume, watching old stick figure animations from Stick Figure Death Theater, that old website, old animated music videos, and I'll just go on this nostalgia journey where I'm just fucking blasted back into my chair like I'm traveling through time watching this old content. And that's what I was doing tonight, and I figured, I might as well share some of it, see if I could inspire some nostalgia boners in some of you out there that might remember it. Now, the first one I'd like to share with you is called Mission to the Moon. This is from a band called Lunar Active. It's an animated music video, and it's criminally underrated. It never took off the way that I thought it should have. It was made around the time Ultimate Showdown was made, and of course, everybody's fucking seen that. It's a classic masterpiece. But I think Mission to the Moon should have been in the same conversation. This song flew under the radar on a website called Stickpage, that I think it was Stickpage, and this thing just bangs. So I'm just going to share with you an excerpt from it and just talk about it.
The Earth's demise was imminent and it could not be saved. They assigned him to be the messenger who led the planet. Oh, they'd arrange a paradise on the moon where we all may go. Morning came, he woke up with little time. Preparation. He threw on some postcard in the truck to the story race. Wrote out the blueprint, the components in display. Created one that could carry him into space. He hides in his lunar paradise, and sometimes he yells, "Paradise is paradise." But loneliness can't be helped.
This thing just absolutely slaps. I'm not going to spoil the ending for you since the song is a story about a man who was tasked with taking humanity to the moon where aliens built a paradise for us because they knew that the Earth was about to explode. So I don't want to give away any of the lore here, but I just wanted to play at least a little bit for you because this whole thing is just so fucking good. And just watching it for even a second, it immediately takes you back to an era where Flash animations were king online. Flash is dead now, but back in the day, that was the most popular content online that I can remember. I still remember going to Newgrounds and watching Flash animated porn. I remember desperately watching tutorials trying to figure out how to make Flash animations of my own, but I just never had the talent or the drive to follow through with it. But it was a great time, and this music video immediately just takes you right back into the fucking pilot seat of that era. Now please allow me to sit you down by the fireplace again and tell you old war stories from back in the day. The next piece of content I'd like to show you is a stick figure animation, and I know this genre isn't dead. Stick figure animations still exist and are still pretty popular, but even modern stick figure animations can't compete with the masterpiece that is the Castle series from Oscar Johansson. These were very popular on Stick Figure Death Theater, which is a website that I think's been dead for like 15 fucking years by now. The only people that know that name anymore, it's triggering like a Winter Soldier episode in them right now. But it was very big there, and that's where I found it and just got glued to it. It is extremely impressive animation, worthy of Academy Awards. It's as if Christopher Nolan got butt-fucked by Michael Bay and decided to make a stick figure series. It's really, really good shit. So I'll show you a clip. This is from Castle 3, Part C. Keep in mind the upload on this video is 2015, but I think the original release of Castle 3 was in 2008 or 2007, somewhere in that ballpark, I'm pretty sure. Maybe even 2009. It was still over a fucking decade ago, not 2015. That's just when Oscar decided to post it on YouTube.
He took 2 of our men. He said something. Shut up! Look, it has begun. Hold it! What are you gonna do? Kill me? Enough to blast our way out of here.
Not only is the action super stylized and super well done, but also the music and audio design is top notch. I fucking love the soundtrack to the Castle series. Makes you want to pump your fist and shit your pants. It also has a really interesting story with a really interesting group of characters. It's the whole package. The Castle series is an absolute joy. Now, there was going to be a Castle 4, which was going to be the conclusion to the storyline and just wrap up the whole franchise, but as of 2018, Oscar has moved on from the project and put it on hold indefinitely, stating that he just doesn't have the drive for it at the moment to put everything into it that he'd want to, which is understandable, but still is a bit of a shame that we won't get to see the ending to Castle series. But still, the series stands the test of time. It's been over a fucking decade, and it is still top-notch, one of the best, if not the best, stick figure franchise that I think has ever been animated. It's so fucking good. Next up, Flash games. Addicting games, mini clip, the two classics, the two titans of entertainment during the old middle school years, and nothing was more fun or more popular than the helicopter game, the original Flappy Bird. Looking back on it now, it doesn't look like much, but I put more hours into this naughty girl than I did Skyrim. I have so many hours clocked on this game, and I was the best there was when it came to the helicopter game. Truly a classic. Now, of course, during this time, RuneScape was also popular, as well as City of Heroes. Those were two games that I sunk a ton of time into. Both of these games still exist, RuneScape in an official fashion, and City of Heroes through private servers. I've streamed both quite a bit, so it's not as nostalgic to go back and watch videos of the games there, because I can still play them, and they're still just as good today as they were back then. But the helicopter game, I couldn't even find it when I was looking for it online. All I was getting was helicopter simulators. I'm sure it still exists out there, and I didn't look that hard because I probably wouldn't enjoy it anymore. But shit, I just wanted to at least reminisce on this game here. I'm a little upset with this video, though, that didn't have Hypercam 2 on the top, unregistered Hypercam. That would have really completed it nicely. But yeah, anyway, I don't want this to be too long, just showing old content and talking about it. So I just wanted to show a few things because I was really feeling nostalgic tonight. So yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. We're coming up on a very special 5-year anniversary for a personal journey of mine. If it was alcoholism, I'd be getting a chip for this achievement right now, but I'm receiving a very different kind of gift for it. First, I need to ask, though, what have you done for 5 years straight with unwavering discipline and gusto? Mewing? Maybe? Yeah, and what do you have to show for it, tough guy? You still got that soft chin. What about jelking? You a big jelker? Spent the last 5 years in the laboratory desperately trying to put a few inches on that pathetic little meat of yours? Well, what if I told you that 5 years could have been better spent doing what I was doing? Watching One Piece from start to current. Over 1,100 episodes. Please, hold your applause, I'm no hero. I just did what I thought needed to be done to finally stop getting bombarded with the question of why I didn't like One Piece. I started this journey 5 years ago, which feels like the blink of an eye now in the grand scheme of my One Piece journey, because I had tried numerous times to get into it and just never fell in love with it. But every time I would stream, I'd always be getting the question about, what's wrong with you, Charles? You gotta screw loose to not like One Piece. So I started it out of spite, and I gotta tell you, sports fans, the first year or so of that journey, for the first, 200 to 300 episodes, were brutal. Trying to stay awake watching those arcs was a more difficult boss battle than trying to kick a heroin addiction. It was tough. But I pushed through, I persisted, and I've been giving you steady updates like once a year since, because after about 300 episodes, I did fall in love with One Piece. Experts may call it Stockholm Syndrome. I call it just objective improvements in the show itself. And I understand in the manga, everyone always says this, the pacing for the earlier arcs is just significantly better in the manga as opposed to the anime. And I imagine they're probably right, but I had committed to watching the show. And I think once we start getting into Water 7 territory, the show really hits its stride, and it maintains that. The show does get a drastic improvement not only in animation, but in pacing, and I genuinely think everything in it starts to elevate. So I'm extremely happy I did push through and catch up with the show, because it is extraordinary. So now that I'm caught up, I'm just going to give you all of my thoughts, kind of like as a all-encompassing debriefing. Because like I said, I've been giving you yearly-ish updates on my One Piece progress. But I just want to put a nice little bow on all my thoughts on One Piece as a whole. And I guess I'll get into the nitty-gritty here, the spaghetti and meatballs of Egghead specifically, since that's obviously the most recent arc. But anyway, overall, I love One Piece, like I said. I think the show offers some extremely high highs, but with that comes some lows as well. In particular, Fishman Island. That is my least favorite arc in the entire series. I hated that. That was a slog to get through, and I found so little to like about Fishman Island. And I know I've yapped quite a bit about my disdain for that arc, and I'm not going to go too deep into it here, but just know that shit is poop. I do not like the green eggs and ham of Fishman Island. But my favorite arcs are as followed, in this order. My favorite arc is Marineford, followed by Enies Lobby, followed by Dressrosa. And the more thought I put into it, the harder it became to choose what are my definitive favorite arcs, because there are some turbo bangers in here. So it's always been a bit fluid, but the one that's never changed as my favorite arc is Marineford. That one's pretty unbeatable, but the rest have kind of moved here and there, ebbed and flowed. And I know Dressrosa in particular is a bit of a contentious pick to be in my top 3 arcs. Worth noting, I watched One Piece, so it cut out a lot of filler, which Dressrosa was apparently famous for. I didn't get that experience. I got just a really high quality, very compelling arc that I loved from start to finish. So maybe my Dressrosa experience was very different than a normal anime watcher's experience if they watched all the filler and stuff. One Piece did an extraordinary job of keeping everything flowing, keeping it moving, and it was great. I really, really like that arc, but I don't think anything will probably ever beat Marineford. I mean, I guess I can't say for sure because I don't know where One Piece is going to go, but Marineford was just a culmination of everything that had been building for so long in an extremely satisfying and emotional arc. This arc also opened my third eye to a painful revelation that I may not know what the One Piece is yet, but I do know what the one truth is, that Mihawk is a fraud. Mihawk clashed briefly with Vista in the Marineford arc, and it became abundantly clear that this man might just not be the world's greatest swordsman. Maybe he's like King from One Punch Man, where everyone just perceives him as this unbeatable, indomitable force of nature, but in reality, he's just not. We haven't seen Mihawk do a single fucking thing since he clashed with Zoro at the Baratie like 20 years ago. Like, it is so sad. Like, it is actually is so sad. He just gets by on aura and aura alone. Speaking of world's greatest swordsman, for the longest time throughout this series, my favorite character was Zoro. But now that I'm finally caught up, it's still Zoro. It was then and it is now. People like to boil him down to just being like a very one-dimensional flat character, but I just think that they're not watching the same show. That's so disingenuous. I can recognize that his motivations and a lot of the side quests, we'll call them, that he goes on are simpler than the rest of the crew, but that doesn't mean that he lacks as much depth as they have. I think Zoro is a perfect character to contrast the rest of the crew, and I always appreciate where he ends up throughout the arcs. My favorite villain is Doflamingo, but my most slept-on superstar is Magellan. I'm somewhat of a Magellan maniac. I believe that if that man could get off the toilet for even just an additional 3 or so hours and they'd let him spread his fucking wings outside of his prison, that man could be an actual threat. Now, of course, it's just pure delusion and hopium to believe that we might see him again engaging in the overall plot of One Piece. I think his role is kaput. He himself is a prisoner of the shitter, and he will probably never leave Impel Down. But I think if he ever did, he would genuinely be an extremely powerful character, even in like the current landscape of things. My most controversial take on One Piece is that Sabo is genuinely a fanfic character that you have to suspend disbelief in order to accept his presence in this series. I really like, the more and more I think about Sabo, the less and less sense it makes for him to even be here. Just this secret third brother that just happens to pop up out of nowhere, and somehow he is the well-known second in command of the Revolutionary Army, a world-famous group, and yet somehow Ace, who himself is extremely notorious and high-ranking in the Whitebeard Pirates, never knew Sabo was alive? Was Ace illiterate? Maybe, but even if he was illiterate, why the fuck couldn't he see pictures in a newspaper? Did he never hear Sabo's name, even though apparently everyone knew about Sabo, who he was in the Revolutionary Army? And there was never anything in Ace's ear that was like, wait, Sabo, it's ringing a bell. My brother. It just doesn't compute, and especially the timing makes it even more fishy, where it feels like the sole reason behind Sabo's presence in the story is that he was drummed up, conjured as a replacement to Ace. He just happens to come through after Ace's death. He also gets Ace's devil fruit. It really feels like Sabo's entire purpose was just to be a Ace replacement. And the way Sabo even is used in the story itself is very odd. He's kind of here as like this all-powerful, damn near omniscient presence who can do everything, and is used exclusively for, like, these fake-out moments. So, like, he goes to the world government, and, like, the five elders attack him. He might be dead, but he's not dead. He's on an island. The island gets blown up. Sabo might be dead. He's not dead. It's, like, it's very weird. Sabo as a character just doesn't really fit with the rest of the characters One Piece introduces. And it just feels like the way in which he is put into the story feels very forced and very out of left field. Now, not to be confused with me being a Sabo hater, I don't even really dislike him or anything. It just feels very odd how he gets into this story in the first place and the way in which he is used in the story. But his scenes are hype. Like, it is a cool sequence when he, like, tries to save Cobra and everything. Like, it is cool to watch, but I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense how we even got to that point with Sabo in the first place is all. But still are cool sequences with Sabo, and I do think that he is an interesting character. Anyway, though, let's now dive into Egghead. So when I was first watching Egghead, I was a pretty vocal Scrooge on it. I didn't really love the first half of the Egghead arc. The second half, however, significantly better and much more invested. I think the second half of Egghead has been really, really, really good. First half, bit of a snoozer, but I do think it was necessary to eat your vegetables first here in this case because it does help lay the foundation and build the stakes for what comes in the second half. But yeah, I really was not liking the first half of Egghead. I really didn't like the Seraphim, by the way. I didn't think that they were a strong addition to the One Piece story. Vegapunk, love Vegapunk. I love everything with Stella. I think that is so good, and I really think I can't remember if I've been doing spoilers when going through my One Piece journey. I think for the most part I have been, because a lot of the arcs that I've been covering are like fucking 15 years old. But I don't know if I should do spoilers for Egghead since it's still fresh. I'll try and I'm gonna have to get into spoilers. There's no way I can talk about some of the things I didn't like about it without getting into spoilers. Let's start with the things that I really liked. Kuma's backstory. My oh my, did they hit a grand slam with Kuma's backstory. That is probably the peak flashback. I don't want to use the word arc because it's not a flashback arc, but peak emotional character backstory so far in the show. I thought they really crushed Kuma's story. It is tragic from top to bottom, and his whole existence in the show is just agony. And even where he ends up in Egghead here, there's nothing happy about it. For a character that himself is so positive, despite everything he went through as a child, with his parents and himself being enslaved and them being killed in front of him, with his father being murdered in front of him, still trying to find the light and still holding on to the hope of that legendary hero that will come to save them, and then trying to make a difference with the Revolutionary Army and saving people, and then himself still being dealt such a bad hand. There's always fingers crossed, hoping something finally goes Kuma's way, but it never does. Even when he's raising Bonnie, she's gonna die if he doesn't give over his humanity to the world government, to Vegapunk, to turn into this soulless killing machine, basically. The Pacifista program, all based around him, a weapon for the government. And he does it out of love for his daughter. But to save her, he had to abandon her. And then she went on her own pirate journey quest. Now she's gotten the truth, wants revenge on the 5 elders who are overseeing the program, in particular, Saturn. And Saturn becomes like our main big bad of the arc, and I think he's a really good villain. And he's not alone. There are other villains there like Rob Lucci and Kaku, whom I do think they're good villains, but I didn't like the flip-flopping so many times there. I think that was a little overdone. I get why it's there. Stussy also being there. Her role was very cool. That was quite the plot twist reveal there with her role and everything. But even though I like Rob Lucci and Kaku, like their presence there, the amount of flip-flopping I think was just a bit excessive. But in addition to their presence being there, there's also Kizaru. And Kizaru is a very interesting villain because prior to this, we'd always seen him as just like this callous, uncaring, calm, cold bad guy. Like, do I need to kill them? Fine, I suppose it would be stimulating. I am a little bored. Here I go, reluctantly killing for the sake of the government. And that's all you ever really got, so you're under the impression that he's just like this guy who will do pretty much everything and he won't feel anything. Just basically a heartless bad guy. Well, here we get a lot more fleshing out, a lot more backstory. It turns out he is actually somewhat intertwined deeply with Bonnie, Kuma, Vegapunk. So when he is tasked by Saturn to kill Vegapunk and Bonnie, he really doesn't want to. You can start to see emotion in this character. When he does ultimately kill Vegapunk, he is anything but happy. And it feels like there's almost this sense of relief when Luffy is able to actually overpower him. And he makes like the treasonous decision to feed Luffy when Luffy was, out of energy, out of power, so that we can continue to fight against Saint Saturn. So we got a lot more out of him, and I thought it was really interesting, and I'm so curious to see what his motivations are. What does he want? What is his goal? What is he doing? It's so good the way a lot of these things were built up and how they were executed here so far in Egghead. This is also the arc in which we get the most exposition on the Void Century and filling in the blanks for everything that's been happening that has been a mystery to this point, like with the Poneglyphs, Joy Boy. Vegapunk gives a final message to the entire world, revealing so much information, much to the chagrin of the 5 elders, whom show up at Egghead to try and put the kibosh on the broadcast and shut everything down because they can't have these secrets getting out about what's happened in the past. It's just really satisfying now because it feels like we're finally starting to see the big picture. We're starting to get these breadcrumbs to follow for what it all means and what actually happened 800-900 years ago. Who is Joy Boy and everything? Who are the 5 elders in Emu? Like, what is all of this? It's so, it's hard to not wait on bated breath for the next episode and the next big reveal. Oh, also, one of my earlier complaints with this show, the whole series, is that there was always this hesitation to kill someone, even if their role in it had been finished, their whole arc. Arlong or someone. Pretty much a villain who served their purpose that I don't think we'll ever see again. The show still had a tendency to just, knock them out and move on. They fainted, and that's it. Never to be seen again. And they did that with, every character, not just villains, but, any character I thought that they were setting up for a death, didn't die, most notably, Pell, so long ago. And I get with Pell, there was a lot of stuff going on at the time there with Pell, which maybe led for him not ultimately facing a demise there. I get that, but that's just another example that I'm pulling from. There are countless others of characters that I thought should have died there to amplify the emotional stakes of what was being built to. With Egghead, though, no longer does it feel like there is a hesitation to kill off characters. There is a lot of character deaths in here that I didn't expect, that I didn't see coming, that are important characters. So it really does feel like we're reaching the end game here. I just wanted to make a mention of that. No longer is that a complaint I have with recent One Piece. They are actively killing characters. It feels like it's getting much more intense. Now, one of my biggest complaints so far about Egghead, though, and it's not even in the first half, it actually is in the second half, bringing all 5 elders here, I think just kind of made them seem weaker than they are. So, I like Saint Saturn as a villain. I think he's a great villain. But him actually fighting Luffy, he looks like a bitch. And I get Luffy, as, you know, the new Joy Boy, is supposed to be absolutely fucking stomping this man. He's basically blue waffling all over Saint Saturn. It's not even really a contest. But Saint Saturn as a fighter is really underwhelming. He's basically like the Derek Zoolander of the One Piece universe. He has one move. He has one look. And it's just by throwing out his little spider legs, and that's it. He doesn't do anything besides that. Even when he's not fighting Luffy and he's like going after the rest of the Straw Hat crew, he can't even like kill them because he's only using his spider legs and nothing else. And then he's like, oh, this is a waste of my fucking time. I'm just going to run. So he does. So he goes to the next thing. These insects, I won't bother with them. Like, it just makes him look like not a very terrifying presence. And when they brought the other 5 elders in there, the same phenomenon happened where, because now there's so many, they can't give a whole lot of focus to them, so instead they all only do one thing. Warkery, I think, is the best example of that. That fucking goober is the equivalent to that goddamn Rick and Morty butter robot whose only purpose is to serve butter. All Warkery can do is go into boar form and charge. That is all they show him doing. All he does is just charge. So like when the Giants arrive, which, by the way, super hype. I'm extremely excited that Elbaf is being brought into the Megamix here. Bragi Dory back in the fold now. It's very exciting that they're there. They're having a good time. They're super powerful. And Warkery, all he does is just charge and headbutt. That's it. It just makes him seem kind of lame. He's like a E-Honda player in Street Fighter 6 just spamming that one headbutt special. That is all Warkery does. So, like, it just makes it feel like he's not really a threat. He only can do one thing, and he's not even succeeding at it. Like, he's not even doing a good job with headbutting. And that's just so underwhelming for these 5 elders, whom we have this entire time been led to believe probably the most fearsome, terrifying creatures on the fucking face of that planet. And yet here all 5 of them are just getting toyed with, really. Getting laughed at, getting blasted around. Like, they can't even stop a broadcast. Like, they can't even find the transponder snail and destroy enough things to stop it. Granted, they have to be a little careful with the Mother Flame, I get that. But they just don't look as strong as we've been led to believe, because now all 5 of them were here, still basically getting embarrassed. Like, so far there hasn't been a moment where I'm actually concerned about a character because of the 5 Elders' presence, because they're just not good at doing anything they aim to do here. I think it would have just been far stronger if it was only Saint Saturn who was up against everyone, the Giants, Luffy, the Straw Hat crew, all while trying to stop Vegapunk's desperate broadcast to the rest of the world to get the truth out there. And Saint Saturn, against all these odds, is still making it a close fight. That, I think, would have been a really strong showcase for the 5 Elders and how scary they can be, that one of them is able to go against all the strongest in the universe there. But the fact that all 5 show up and still can't succeed, it makes it seem like, well, Luffy will probably end up just fucking dog-walking them at some point. Like, it doesn't really feel like they're as terrifyingly powerful as I thought they were now. Whereas, again, if it was just Saturn there, I'd be left thinking like, damn, this is just one of them able to, do so much across all of Egghead here. I can't even imagine what'll happen when the other 4 get involved. But now I don't have to imagine. I know what happens when the other 4 get involved. Still fucking nothing. They still can't, kill even, a giant or anything. They can't stop a broadcast. They can't do shit. It just makes it feel like the 5 Elders are just kind of weak. That's just, my main complaint so far with Egghead. It kind of took a lot of the oomph out of the 5 Elders. Anyway, though, that's really, my only major complaint with the second half of Egghead. Like I said, didn't love the first half, but maybe it just wasn't my cup of tea. There's really nothing in there in particular I think was bad. Even with the 5 Elders, I don't think it's bad. It's just, I don't know, it felt a little underwhelming given how much had been built up about them is all. But overall, I think it's a very strong arc, and I'm really, really happy that I caught up to One Piece and I get to enjoy this in real time now as we're entering, the end of this legendary series. I think it's a masterpiece. I will say, though, I don't expect anyone to follow suit in, force themselves to watch 300 episodes if they're not enjoying it. I think it's totally fine if you just don't like One Piece after X amount of episodes to just say it's not for you and be done with it. There's nothing wrong with that. I probably would have done the same thing if it wasn't for me being so spiteful. Like, I probably wouldn't have pushed through as hard as I did, and then I did actually fall in love with it. Again, not Stockholm Syndrome, just an acquired taste. My taste buds got a little more refined is all, as the show got better. Anyway, I just wanted to give you this yearly update here, basically. Fully caught up, we fucking did it. That's really about it. So, yeah. Hey, you, what's that stink? It smells like brave boy in here. That must mean that there's a courageous man in this room. And I don't mean to alarm you, but he's sitting right in front of you. You notice anything different about me? Be honest. I know you do. I faced one of my biggest fears this week. On Saturday, I got on an airplane. A real airplane. Not like a flight simulator or anything like that. I'm talking a legitimate bird-in-the-sky flying machine. God bless the Wright brothers. And I took it to Texas. And I had so much fun on that flight that I decided to take a flight back home today, on Monday. I know that doesn't sound impressive to pretty much any of you, but to me, this was a huge deal. You know how people have like phobias of spiders and no one gives them shit for it? Well, I get shit all the time for being afraid of flying, and you know what? I said, fish paste with this. Dirty barnacles. I'm getting on a plane. I've had a fear of flying for as long as I can remember. I think prior to this flight, I'd been on about 10 planes total. The last time was in 2016 to California, and I've always hated it. It's always been terrifying to me. Yes, I already know there's people on the keyboard right now, fucking steam and smoke coming off their fingers, furiously typing about how safe they are and all the statistics, and I know that. I get it. It's a phobia for a reason. It doesn't have to be rational. Everyone has some kind of fear that they can't really rationalize super well, and for me, it's flying. I just find the whole idea of a plane terrifying because if something goes wrong, the stakes are so high. Plus, you're also trapped in this giant metal tube in the sky for hours, so if you have an emergency, like you break your arm, start choking on your bubblegum, you can't, like, get medical attention. Well, aside from, like, the Heimlich maneuver, but, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, if you have a medical emergency, they can't exactly just pull over to the nearest air hospital. You know, it's not Bioshock Infinite. We don't have, like, just floating buildings that you can pull into or anything. So you're just trapped on there until you touch down on the ground whenever the flight is done. So it's just the whole idea of flying has been scary to me for as long as I can remember. But this weekend was a very special weekend. There was a massive event that I didn't want to miss. I needed to be there. It was the RLCS World Championship, the Rocket League World Championship, a $2 million tournament where our esports org, Moist Esports, was competing. We had locked in top 8, and we were starting on Sunday to try and take home the grand prize and the big trophy, the big clams. And I wanted to be there in person to support the squad. I would do pretty much anything to support Moist Esports. I am so passionate about it. I absolutely fucking love it. So I knew I had to be there for our team. Rise, Joyo, Vatira, and Noah make up the Moist Esports Rocket League team, and I think they're the best in the world. Unfortunately, they didn't win the World Championship this weekend, but I still couldn't be more proud of them. Next season, for sure, they'll be hoisting the trophy. There is no one more deserving than them, and no one wants it more than them. And being there was super special, so I'm glad I decided to face my fears and actually get on a plane for the first time in 6 years. Not only was it really great to be there for the team, but also just meeting the community was amazing. I met so many fucking awesome people at the event, it was beautiful. The fans chanting "Let's Get Wet" was unforgettable. Them chanting Rise, Joyo, Vatira, absolutely iconic and memories I will always cherish. The Psyonix team, Psyonix is the developers behind Rocket League, put on the best esports event I could have imagined. It was a 14,000 seat arena, massive jumbotron, even got to stream from there for the watch party, so you're welcome to check out that VOD. I'll post it on YouTube at some point too. It was just such an incredible experience, and it was absolutely worth the panic attack that I experienced on the first flight. So the flight wasn't smooth for me. The first flight to Fort Worth was absolutely miserable. I brought like 18 different drugs, like legal ones. I'm not talking like shooting up heroin in the back or anything. I brought like Dramamine, Afrin to like open up my ears and everything. Just tons of different fucking things. I was damn near ready to start bringing in Shungite. get like real spiritual with energy crystals, because I was just panicking. And unfortunately, on that journey there, within the first 15 minutes, I had a full-blown panic attack. I thought my throat was closing up. I had shot like 6 squirts of Afrin into my nostrils, so I thought I was just gonna like OD in the back of the plane. The flight attendants come by with the cart of snacks and just find my corpse, wondering what the fuck happened. Like I just got attacked by a nasal decongestant. I flew with friends, of course, and they did a great job of helping keep me calm and get through the panic attack. So that was very helpful. Ended up watching a movie and simmering down a bit. But yeah, the journey there was not pretty. It was not pleasant. It was pretty traumatizing. I didn't think I was going to make it. And it was entirely in my own head, too. Like, it had nothing to do with the actual plane or anything. It was me overthinking it and just, again, falling to fear. But got through it, made it to Fort Worth, and had a wonderful time. And thankfully, the flight back was a lot calmer. No panic attack or anything. Just buckled down, watched a bit of a movie, even took a nap. And that was all she wrote. We landed, everything was nice and smooth, so that one was fine, but the first one was absolutely rough. I think the question on everyone's mind now is, will I fly again? And I'm super happy to say, fuck no. No, nope. I don't plan on flying very often. For the next Rocket League World Championship, maybe I'll hop back on the plane, get back in the saddle, and get out there. But I think I'll probably just stick to like ground transportation. Even though the second flight was a lot calmer than the first one, I still wasn't happy or comfortable. I was still very scared out of my fucking mind and nervous. And the entire week leading up to this was nothing but stress and anxiety. I think across the 72 hours prior to Saturday, I slept maybe 6 hours total. Maybe. And that's being generous. So it has been fucking miserable. So I don't really plan on becoming a frequent flyer, but at least I faced my fears this week, and I know I can do it for like big events, you know, that really, you know, get my engine revved and get me wanting to get out there as quickly as possible. I know now that I can at least face them. So I think this was a fucking great week all around. I'm super proud of Moist Esports Rocket League team, and I can't wait to see more from them. I think the future is very, very bright. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about this a bit, and that's it. So yeah. If you've been around the channel for a long time, you might remember that I used to make one video a year where I'd address all of the most common questions that I'd get for that year. It was a big event, you know, people looked at it like a second Christmas if Santa Claus was a greasy, gamer-gunked little goblin. And I don't do that anymore these days. I've buried that tradition because I stream every day on Twitch, so I'm always answering the most common questions anyway. And since it's Twitch chat, I'm always answering the same 3 questions over and over again. It's like in fucking 50 First Dates with 10-Second Tom. But just like last year, I thought it might be fun to do it on YouTube as well, because obviously not everyone's going to the streams. It's their loss, they're missing out on a few extra inches on their penis, but what am I going to do? You know, I'm not their dad, I can't force them. So why not just answer those common questions in a YouTube video so that way everyone's caught up on the lore. We'll start with the one that's been getting asked a lot recently, which is about the kitty. Yeah, I recently got a cat, and not because I'm a bandwagon follower. I know a lot of other YouTubers also got cats. This was actually a cat that was left behind outside of a PetSmart in a box that Tiana and I just decided to help nurse back to health, and eventually just decided the cat's too cute to not keep. And a lot of people have been wondering if we finally decided on a name. The answer is no. And that's because we still don't even know the gender of the cat, which has been making it pretty hard to come up with a really badass name that would strike fear into the hearts of other animals. As I mentioned before, the cat was unfortunately born with a birth defect in its ass. I forgot the name of it, but fundamentally, like, the colon doesn't really connect to the anus, or it's extremely narrow, and it's a very serious problem, but we did get the surgery and the cat's been doing better, but because of that, it's been really hard for any vets to properly gender the cat. I didn't know this, and maybe because I'm a big fucking stupid idiot, but cats don't have, like, visible testicles when they're that age. I just assumed all cats were hanging dong, but I guess that's not the case. The proper procedure is to go into the ass to figure out the gender of the cat, which, because of the problem the cat was born with, has made it really difficult. So We still don't know the gender, so still haven't really decided on a name. This next question is one that I've been asked every year, a million times a year since I became a little more open with all of you with my face and a little bit about me. It's, why are you so short? A real brain-bustin' goofy one. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just cursed. I got unlucky. Osmosis Jones stunted my growth when I was 14. I don't know what you want from me. I don't know why I'm short. It's not like I enjoy being short. I'd prefer to be taller. I think that'd be great. But it's something I have absolutely no control over. Someone gathered all 8 Dragon Balls and made a wish that I'd be 5'6", and god damn it, that's where I've stayed since I was like 16. It is what it is. Me going outside and angrily shaking my fist at the clouds isn't going to do anything to help me get taller. I don't know why so many people ask so many questions about me being short. I suppose I'm just a circus freak at 5'6". I don't know. But I've answered this every single year for like 6 years now. And I can't wait to do it again next year. While we're on the topic of repeat questions, this is one that I also always get asked is, why am I so negative? I just disagree. I'm not negative, pussy. You're the Debbie Downer, not me. I'm not negative about things. I just am not like a completely brain-rotted zombie consumer who just accepts everything with a big smile on my face and like says it's perfect. The things I like have flaws. So even my like favorite things, like The Mummy, my favorite movie, I know is not the best movie ever made. There's plenty of things wrong with The Mummy, which I can point out and still appreciate the movie as my favorite. Like, I just subscribe to the belief that nothing's perfect, and you can always talk about the shortcomings or flaws and things that you might like. You don't have to just write off, any problems with something you enjoy because you enjoy it. You can still talk about them while also still enjoying it. I just don't think I'm negative. I really don't. I'm not looking for the bad in things. I just talk about the good and the bad in things as much as possible. Unless, of course, it's an extreme case like Fantastic Beasts: Secrets of Dumbledore, the newest one, then it's all bad and there's nothing good. Despite my best efforts to locate even just a single iota of decency from that movie, there's nothing. Not even the Lord could forgive that cinema sin. That goddamn movie is a stain on Hollywood in general. That movie is fucking atrocious. The best thing that can be said about the new Fantastic Beast movie is that it ends. So, besides that, I'm just not negative. Yeah, maybe I can admit that in the heat of passion I may rant about things I don't like the Halo show, another extreme example. But even when I'm playing in the pig pen and rolling around in the septic tank that is the Halo TV show, I also do find a couple of things to compliment, such as a few action scenes. So again, I disagree. I just don't think that I'm negative or always looking for the bad in things. Next question's a little rapid fire round here because it's a quick one. What's in the Pokemon frame behind me, and what are in these 2 frames? In the Pokemon frame, it's all of the first edition base set Shadowless, so all 16 holos there, including Charizard. I got all of them damaged, so they were super cheap, which was great, but I think they look wonderful in the frames, and I think grading cards is a scam, so I don't care about their condition. And then in these 2 Yu-Gi-Oh frames over here, these are all the Ghost Rares first edition, and these are all the Starlight Rares first edition. Next question's another one of these in the bar bathroom quickies. It's, will Godslap ever have an anime? So as you know, we posted the Godslap animation, which is basically just the first 15 pages that we had animated by Sikowski Studios, the same studios behind Skynet. And we did it as just a promo piece and proof of concept, and a lot of people have wondered, will there be like an actual full animation for it? And the answer is, we hope so. As you might recall, we did mention that we had a pitch with Netflix at some point, which is still on the table, and I guess we'll see how that goes. We'll probably also take it elsewhere. And let's be honest, Netflix is desperate for something that's not dog shit. And I promise you, Godslap is the furthest thing from dog shit. So if you're watching this, Mr. John Netflix, perhaps Godslap could be your savior. I know the stock prices aren't doing amazing, but they could be with Godslap, perhaps. But back to the core question, we want it to be a fully animated series that runs adjacent to the comic books. However, we can't do that ourselves. We don't have that kind of budget, so we're hoping that we can partner with a streaming service in order to do that. The next question is about Moist Esports. It's, what is Moist Esports' grand plans? Like, what are we trying to accomplish with the org? And I think a lot of people are still under the naive impression that Moist Esports is just a joke throwaway project, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Moist Esports is something that I and the entire team are taking extremely seriously. We want it to become an actual legitimate tier 1 org. And I honestly think we're getting pretty close. We're knocking on the door. We are the danger. In fact, just today, our Rocket League team won both their series and guaranteed themselves a spot in the London Major at the end of the month. We have one of the best Rocket League teams in the world. We're also guaranteed a spot in the Rocket League World Championship coming up in August. So we have one of the best squads in Rocket League. We have some of the best fighting game players, best Smash players, best Guilty Gear, best Brawlhalla, and we recently got a Splitgate team who's also one of the best. So we've got a whole fucking lineup of superstars here, and yes, we do want to expand into other games like CSGO, Valorant, Dota, League, all of those big staples, the games we enjoy watching and would love to be in, but right now it's a little too expensive for us, but we do have those plans down the road. It's something we want to do. We're extremely hungry, and the only thing that can satiate our appetite is giant fucking dubskis, huge world championship wins. And this leads directly into the next frequently asked question, which is, can I join Moist Esports? Absolutely fucking not, you swine. Moist Esports will find you. We're like Nick Fury. We recruit in the shadows, and only the best in the world. But I do always really appreciate people that get excited about Moist Esports and show interest in like wanting to compete for us. It really is meaningful. This next question is one I'm also pretty sure I answered at some point, but I can't remember if I ever did it in a YouTube video, so I'm just going to do it again to be safe. Why is Moist part of like my name on everything? And it all started in college. I got a Wii U. Yes, I was one of those fucking suckers that was scammed into buying a Wii U, and I bought it for my friends and I to play at our dorm. And I had to come up with a cool name for our little me avatar, and Nintendo has extremely strict profanity filters, so I couldn't make anything too, like, outrageous, and I eventually came up with Big Moist, because I thought it sounded silly and stupid, which was the vibe I was going for with the name, and I ended up just really liking the name Big Moist. So then I ended up making my personal Snapchat account Big Moist, and so my friends would use that name when talking about like the Wii U and me sometimes, and then I just ended up just really liking the word moist for everything. So that's how that spawned what it currently is today. This next one's actually kind of deep, and it involves a time in early college that I've talked about a lot where I pretended to be a mysterious anime character and it failed me socially. I became such a weirdo that people were afraid of, and I'm asked, how did I finally get out of that? How did I, achieve self-awareness and leave that disgusting arc in my anime behind? How did I get over it? And the answer is I surrounded myself with actually socially adept people. So in my early college days, I commuted to college. I used to just go from my house, my parents' house, to college. And I didn't spend a whole lot of time around a lot of people because they were rightfully fearful of me because I adapted such a weird image where I wouldn't talk to people and I'd scare them. I'd put the fear of God in them. But coming around into like late sophomore year, I decided I was going to live on campus because I thought it would be good for me to be constantly surrounded by other people so I could absorb their social information like a fucking sponge. And it worked. I got lucky enough to room with random roommates that all happened to be like actual party-going, popular people, and I was able to learn from them. Fucking taking notes in the bathroom like a dweeb, coming up with how partying works, and it ended up breaking me out of this anime zone that I had trapped myself in. So I was able to escape it, not under my own power, but because I made the decision to learn from other people and surround myself with people that were better at socializing than I was. And they were actual angels. They were nice enough to take me to parties with them as like their little Padawan, and I was able to suckle from their bosom and learn from them. I'm forever in their debt for being nice to me and actually taking me to parties and to meet people and stuff. Because without them, I would probably still act that way in public, like that loser I was in the first year and a half of college. Let's pick up the pace here, increase the BPM. Will I ever fight in a YouTuber boxing match like Creator Clash 2? No. I don't feel confident fighting anyone over the age of 12. I don't want to get hit. I'm afraid of getting hit, but I'm confident that I could beat anyone 12 and under because I think I could just have a flawless victory where I would be able to brutalize them without them actually being able to land any hits on me. Next up, why am I afraid of flying? Well, it's because if something goes wrong and the plane crashes, everyone dies, and that doesn't sound turbo cool to me. It sounds pretty awful. And I understand the statistics. It's pretty rare for something like that to happen, but it doesn't change the way I feel about it. I'm still afraid of it. Another easy layup here. Why am I not afraid of horror games? And it's because I've played so many of them, I just never really get unnerved anymore. I never get startled by jump scares, except for very rarely. But that doesn't mean I don't enjoy them. I still find horror games to be silly and fun sometimes. But yes, I don't get scared by them because pretty much every modern horror game that gets released is a carbon copy of every horror game before it. Almost all of them these days are walking simulators where you're collecting different pieces of lore or different keys or different pieces of a puzzle in order to escape something while being chased by something. It's all the same formula that I've seen a million times, so by now I'm just pretty numb to it. It just doesn't scare me, and it never really has, except for when I was younger. I'm sure there's quite a few questions that I missed, but these are the ones that were top of mind for me, so I imagine these were the most common ones. But if there's anything I didn't get to, I'm sure I'll answer it on stream tonight anyway. So anyway, yeah, just wanted to do one of these again because I think it's always at least fun to just go over questions that people have. And yeah, that's really about it. So yeah, today is my birthday. It's a special day for a special boy. I've turned 31 years old. Or rather, 31 years young. And I'm going to tell you something, sports fans. I'm feeling like a real spring chicken. I had a hard time sleeping. I woke up after only a handful of hours of sleep. So then I read a book, which is something I've been doing a lot more of, reading. However, I'm not reading anything productive or thought-provoking or useful. I am currently nose deep in a real page-turner from a Book Talk recommended production, a Book Talk book called Haunting Adeline, which is apparently Book Talk's equivalent of One Guy, One Jar. It is a revolting read, but I've been using it almost like a lullaby to myself. So I read from that book and slept on my couch, woke up, my neck hurts, my back hurts, and I can't fully put my arm like all the way back because it causes pain. It's incredible how quickly the human body degrades at 30. It seems it's unbelievable, actually. I wasn't going to bother talking about my birthday or anything. I never do. I don't really treat birthdays like it's a huge deal or anything. But today has kind of been catastrophic, and I want to give you my first impressions of being 31 here, especially because I gave such a glowing review to 30. Like, my moist meter on 30 years old was like very positive, like a 95%. I felt the best I've ever felt physically. Like, I'm stronger now than I have ever been in my life. Like, I have actually been making real progress getting to 225 on the bench, which has kind of been like a white whale for me for a long time because I'm only 130 something pounds. I know, I'm literally like a stuffed animal human being. I'm 5'6", like 130 something. I am a petite, like, plush toy. But I've been really like pushing for 225 on the bench is like this big goal. I'm getting much closer now. I've also been doing a lot of running and making a lot of progress in my cardio, which, if you remember from like 5 years ago when I did the presidential fitness test for a video, I fucking puked running only a mile. So now I've significantly improved in that department, but today I've turned 31 and all of a sudden I've got glass bones and paper skin. I shit you not. When I got up from the couch and like I was all sore, literally moaning and groaning like an old man when he's getting up from his chair fucking full of ass and grease stains in the swamp ass throne, I went to stretch it all out, so I'd like hung on my pull-up bar and I was doing like some scapular retractions and stuff, just trying to stretch everything out back there. And when the pain still didn't go away, I thought I was having a heart attack. I was like, okay, I guess this is just the new norm here at 31 years old. We're in a different ball game now. Even my ideas at 31 years old are fucking like geriatric. I was seriously considering driving and getting some Epsom salt to take a bath in it. I haven't taken a fucking bath since I was a child. But I was thinking that this might actually be a pretty strong idea to help with my back boo-boos here that all of a sudden I've gotten from just sleeping on the couch for like an hour. It's 31. I'm not loving it. 31 is a little different than 30 so far, I'll tell you right now. So I guess maybe the takeaway here is if you're 29 about to turn 30,
Nothing to worry about. You should be very excited. 30 was great. But if you're 30 about to hit 31, sleep with one eye open. You gotta be prepared. You know, get out like some elbow pads and shit. It may even be worth baby-proofing your house even if you don't have kids, just to optimize your safety. You gotta treat all the objects in your house like an enemy, because everything is now capable of causing you pain. I can't even sleep on my fucking couch. That bastard hurt my back. And my neck. So, 31, I'm a lot more fragile. Overnight, I guess. So now, another new fitness goal of mine is to train like Goku so I can go back to sleeping on my couch comfortably sometimes. I used to like sleeping on the couch. I don't know, it was like almost therapeutic. Like when I'd have trouble sleeping in the bed, sometimes the couch would be like the last bastion of hope for me to get any shut-eye. And I'd hate to lose that. Like, it'd really suck. Anyway, though, I just wanted to share my early review here of 31. Of course, it's still an in-progress review, but it's not off to the strongest start here. Chapter 1, I haven't been super thrilled with thus far, but, you know, hopefully it only gets better from here. Anyway, that's really about it. So, yeah.
When I was a young teenager, I had a really weird relationship, and I don't mean with like a creepy uncle or anything like that. I had a weird relationship with masturbation. Now, this will come as a massive surprise to many of you Redditors out there, but when I was a young man, I was extremely religious. I got baptized twice just to make sure the Lord took notice in case he missed the first one. I wanted to make sure he took notice and saw that I got baptized. And this led to a lot of fear, especially when it came to my penis. I was fucking afraid of my wiener. But like all young men, those hormones are pumping and you just gotta slap that skin flute around to show it who the boss is. And when I did masturbate, it was a fucking nightmare. I'd sometimes cry after it because I felt like this sacrilegious act condemned me straight to hell as some kind of unforgivable sin where the devil knew I masturbated and made a special room in hell for me. It was rough. If you listen to the official podcast, I've kind of talked about this a little bit in the past, but I used to ask my parents permission to masturbate and then ask them like a million times if I was still going to heaven if I did. It was bad. It was bad. And the reason why I'm saying this today is because I felt like sharing a story that I just remembered because I was going through some old boner jams. I was looking at old music, and I came across Bullet for My Valentine. Bullet for My Valentine is a metal band, and they used to be my favorite band during this time period, during all this here that I was just talking about, setting the stage. And Bullet for My Valentine made it impossible for me to jerk off. I don't mean like the band themselves. Like the band members didn't come to my house and slap my dick out of my hand every time I was about to jerk off. But I owned one of their posters that I hung on my wall in my room. It was the only poster I ever owned, and the only reason I bought it is because I saw in like old 90s and 2000s movies, the cool kids always had like a ton of fucking band posters and shit, like Misfits and Green Day with the Beating Heart, and I was like, shit. You know, they're kind of cool. I'll try that too. So I went to FYE. I don't know how many of you even remember FYE. That's like the Blockbuster of music. FYE was a place that sold CDs and some DVDs. You could buy one CD and a pack of gum for like $90. That shit was a straight up fucking scam. But I went to FYE and I picked out a Bullet for My Valentine poster. And it wasn't a very cool poster. It wasn't like album cover art or anything like that. It was just a picture of the band members all staring at the camera. So when I hung that on my wall, it looked like those pictures in old cartoons where the eyes would follow you around like some Scooby-Doo shit. It was a kind of fucking weird poster, and it was the only thing on my wall, so I had this white fucking wall. It'd be like this. If I hung that poster right next to the Redline one and the Redline one wasn't there. It was just a completely empty wall with this one poster. It looked like some kind of religious thing where I'd like light candles in front of Bullet for My Valentine and pray, hoping to summon their spirit into my house or something. It was fucking goofy. But I thought it would help make me look cooler, so I'd take like some pictures in front of it and post it on MySpace, like, hey, I got a band poster and shit. They're a pretty popular band, people liked them, and to be fair, their music still absolutely slaps. I was listening to The Poison today, and that album still has some absolute bangers on it. So I was like, okay, this was a good idea, this is cool, people think I'm a little cooler now because my room's got Bullet for My Valentine poster in it. But when I wanted to masturbate, I realized a massive problem. I hung the poster in the middle of the wall directly behind me. And my room was very small, so I could reach out and touch it like here. And I had the poster right behind me. Like it was my shadow. And the poster was looking over my shoulder. It was directly behind me. It was like Bullet for My Valentine was always staring at whatever the fuck I was doing on the computer at this time. And I didn't realize how intrusive that would be when it comes to masturbation. Like, you know when the screen goes black on your phone or computer when you're watching porn and then you see your own greasy reflection there? Well, I had that plus all 4 members of Bullet for My Valentine watching it with me. It was like some shit out of a horror movie where when somebody wipes off the mirror, there's another reflection in it. So it's not like I jerked off very often back then because I was so afraid of it. I wouldn't jerk off for like 5 or 6 months. I'd carry around like 6 months worth of nut, and it made me absolutely mentally ill. I had OCD, like actual obsessive compulsive disorder, not that shit they talk about on Twitter where someone cleaned their disgusting room because I had like fucking 15 Travis Scott meals lying around and shit all over the place, so they cleaned it and then said they were OCD because they wanted it clean or whatever. No, you just wanted to clean a dog shit messy room. I get it. It's not OCD though. I had a whole lot of shit going on during this time, and this Bullet for My Valentine poster was about to make it a lot worse. Because every time I did try and jerk off, and that poster existed there for like 2 years, every time I tried to jerk off, I fucking couldn't. I couldn't focus because I knew Bullet for My Valentine was right next to me, watching it and watching me. It fucking felt so uncomfortable. I remember I put tape over their eyes one time. Every band member's eyes, I put a little piece of duct tape. Do you know how fucking insane that looks? I probably would have looked like an actual serial killer if someone came into that room and saw that. Like, Charlie, why is there duct tape over their eyes? That's like some Zodiac killer shit. I had to stop listening to Bullet for My Valentine's music because every time I heard it, I'd think of jerking off, which is probably not what they were going for when they were making their music, trying to inspire some 16-year-old boy to just constantly think about touching his dick. It's so fucking terrible, all just because I bought a poster to look cool. And I should have just bought like an album poster, but that was the only thing FYE had was like this selfie of all 4 of them holding their instruments or whatever. It was terrible until one day I finally reached the boiling point and I just ripped it off the wall. I just ripped that shit right off the wall and I never looked back. Just so I had freedom to masturbate in my masturbatorium again. And I tell you, that relief when I finally did bust that age-old nut without Bullet for My Valentine haunting the room was euphoric. It was like a curse had been lifted and it was safe again to masturbate in the room. It was all just because I bought a fucking band poster to look cool. But to be fair, Bullet for My Valentine's music, still good. Still good music, yeah. I just wanted to share this because I was listening to the album again and it brought up all those repressed memories that I guess I just stored in the back of my mind. Now, I want to make it clear, I did still masturbate during this time. I wasn't a coward. I wasn't a pussy that was about to abandon masturbation just because I was a little uncomfortable with a band watching me do it. I still did manage to bust some out from time to time, but it made it a lot more difficult. So yeah, Bullet for My Valentine ruined the fun of masturbation for me for a little while. That's it. See ya. Porn, the great uniter. The one force that ties strangers to strangers in a way they don't even realize. The one thing every human being has in common, the love of porn, the art of porn, the ethereal beauty of the craft. Now, as the title of the video suggests, I used to watch the same porn video for the better part of 2 years, perhaps a little longer than 2 years, but I'm going to say 2 years just to err on the side of caution. I've made it no secret that I refuse to get a haircut at the moment, and that I also used to have very bad OCD. Not your generic, watered-down, bullshit, meaningless version of OCD where you move your car keys from the counter to the drawer because you don't like them on the counter. That's not fucking OCD, you goddamn bigot. Don't you hijack what OCD actually means. I had literal OCD, and one of my rituals was watching the exact same lesbian porn video for the better part of 2 years. And I want to tell you what happened as a result of doing that. Now, let's go ahead and start. The video was called Nice Pair of Lesbians. Let's take a moment of silence to remember that beautiful video from redtube.com. It is no longer on redtube.com. Okay, thank you for participating. The video still exists. I know, I get emails all the time like, hey, I found that lesbian porn that you used to jerk off to, you know, that used to haunt your fucking boners. Here it is. Yes, I know it's still on the internet, but in like 240 and 360p. On RedTube, it used to be 480. 480p or higher does not exist anywhere on the internet anymore. Trust me, I have looked. But that's besides the point. That's just to give you the context of what the video is. Maybe someone else out there used to also have OCD and jerk off to this video for 2 years straight. And if so, you're not alone, my brother, or my sister. You and I now share a cosmic bond, a bond stronger than the bond between a mother and her child. I love you. Now, it wasn't just watching this lesbian porno. I had an entire routine for it, like a choreographed dance routine for jerking off to this video. And I know I've talked about a little of this on the podcast before, but I still get emails asking me to talk more about that porno that I jerked off to for 2 years. So I figured I'd talk more about it. I also get emails asking me what's my Twitch account, and I'm glad you asked. It's twitch.tv/moistcritical. Go drop a follow, subscribe. Love to see you over there. I stream daily. Twitch.tv/moistcritical. Fuck yeah. But anyway, so this routine that I came up with, well, not that I came up with, that I kind of fucking cursed myself with and burdened myself with at the time. I would make certain facial expressions during certain points in the video. I would say certain things to the actresses in the video, and make no mistake, you goddamn delusional incels, the porn actresses are just that, they're actresses. They have a script of certain moves they're going to do. It's not like they're just fingering themselves and ass blasting their assholes with their fists for your enjoyment alone. It is a job, and they are actresses. Get it through your fucking skull. But anyway, I would say things to them like, "Oh, you're so hot, that's so sexy, I'm touching my dick to you," as if they could hear me, and as if I was communicating to them directly as like the director of this video. It was a really weird routine, it really was. To kind of give you a brief oversight of all of it, I'm not going to walk you through every step that I would do here. In fact, I don't even remember all of them anymore. But before I would watch the video, I would queue it up and let it all buffer and load, because this was a long time ago. I fucking using RedTube, so obviously it's a long time ago. And while it was buffering and loading, I would turn around from the video, so that way I couldn't see them, and they couldn't see me, obviously. And I would look at my penis until it was completely flaccid, entirely soft. So that way I was coming in there with like a clean canvas, and they were going to 100% get me from 0 to hero. So once I was certain that my dick was super soft, I would then sit down and get ready for the action. As it would start, I would say hello to the girls, and I'd compliment them on their beauty. The video started with a girl fingering herself, and I would compliment her on how great she was doing, and then the other girl joined in, and then I'd say hi to her, like, "Oh, hey, you just stopping by?" Shit like that. It was really fucking weird. And honestly, I hope the NSA was watching during those times, because I would love to see those documents. I'd love to see that film. I think that shit would make for a really incredible case study on OCD, because that shit was goofy as fuck. And I would love to remember exactly all the shit that I would say. I don't necessarily want to see underage me jerking himself off into the webcam or anything. I could skip that part. But I at least want to see what I was saying to the girls during the video. But that's kind of how it went. Facial expressions, words and things I would say to the girls. It was always the same. I had to make sure I said the same things to the girls. I had to make sure I made the same facial expressions. I even made sure to keep track of licking my lips. I had certain time marks where I felt I needed to lick my lips at those times, otherwise I was disrespecting them. It was very weird. Now, I did this for, like I said, the better part of 2 years, and honestly probably a little bit more, but we'll say 2 years, and I didn't deviate from that video. I didn't venture out. That was my home. I lived in Nice Pair of Lesbians on RedTube, and they took my home away. It's not there anymore. I'd like to remind you all that it's not fucking there. It's a goddamn crime. It's a fucking sin what they've done removing that. But now, to tie it back to the title of the video, I watched the lesbian porn for 2 years. Here's what happened. What happened is I recognized how weird it was, and I started to really combat my OCD, and I started cheating on the porno by watching other videos. I did. I'll come out and say it. I fucking cheated on that porn video and watched other ones. And that's what happened. I stopped being so fucking weird through a lot of effort to try and combat my OCD rituals. I've talked about that in the past, so I'm not going to get into how I did that or the steps I took. But that's the result of watching porn for 2 years. You feel like a fucking degenerate loser, and then eventually you stop, hopefully, if you try hard enough. But anyway, that's the story for today. Thank you all. See ya.